What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 summary preview analysis. Today, guys, we are going to be discussing the episode 52 summary, cast list, and preview for the upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode. And this one is a big summary because not only is this the end of the Team Battle Royale arc, the fourth arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's, but this is the season finale arc. Whether you want to consider this season 1 or season 4, whatever, I'm going more towards season 1, but to be frank, I really don't care because there has been a lot of conflicts I've seen between these two, but I'm going more towards season 1 for this. That's why I've mentioned it, actually. So, but either way, it doesn't really matter to me. This is a big deal summary preview analysis, so I obviously had to go over this. I mean, this is the finale for this season, so I really needed to discuss this. But before we get into it, I do want to preference one thing before we actually get into this discussion, and it's in regards to the 53 summary and the 54. I think 54 had just the title. I don't think it actually had a summary, and then the 55 title. In regards to those, I want to see no spoilers on it whatsoever on this video. Not at all. I don't want to hear any mention of it. Not the title, not nothing. And the reason for that is because I've been keeping myself from being spoiled on this, and I just want this video to just be contained into just this season. I don't want to hear anything about the next season. I will be discussing those in its own video when the actual 53 summary preview analysis video comes out next Saturday. I will be discussing it there. But for this video, I don't want to see a single thing about 53, 54, and 55. I don't care how big it is. For the respect of me and for the respect of people that don't want to know far ahead that watch this, please do not spoil anything. I will start deleting comments if you do mention anything in regards to 53, 54, and 55. Now, not saying you can't comment or anything and not discuss this summary. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just don't want any mentions of that because stuff that I do say in this, I don't want to say like, oh, it gets resolved in this or anything like that. No, I don't want to hear any of that. So, with all that out of the way, I think I've gotten what I needed to say out of the way. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. And here it is, the episode 52 summary. And the title of this episode is called The Last Rush Tool. I mean, it makes sense after what we saw in the last episode. I mean, this was kind of a hint of what's going to end up being happening in this episode, but let's get into it. Rush Duels will be eradicated by a Rush Duel via real-time Rush Duel uninstallation, which obviously that's what Otis is trying to do. Luke and Yuga are faced with a tough decision. Will they continue their duel or cancel it? However, the two of them simply smile and declare that they won't just let the best Rush Duel ever end this way. This shall be the final Rush Duel. The cast list, and oh boy is this the cast list. Here we go. Yuga, Luke, Gakuto, Roman, Kaizo, Roa, Nail, President Drone, Mimi, Flash, Secretary, Asana, Tiger, Galliant, Schwer, Caterpillar, Geta, Braun, Rons, Renosuke, and extras. Whew, that was a mouthful and a half, dude. Holy crap, that is a long cast list. But guys, that is the final summary and cast list for the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. But generally speaking, what were my thoughts on this summary, cast list, and preview? Just everything in general. It was interesting. Before we even get into like the dual perspective of this episode, because I actually have some things to talk about in regards to this duel, but we have to address the elephant in the room. Like, oh my gosh, I'm very surprised that this is not going to get settled. I really do believe it. If you notice from that cast list that I just read off to you guys, there was one name in particular that I did not mention in that cast list, and it was because it wasn't there, and that was Otis. After what happened in that last episode, I am very surprised that Otis is not speaking in this episode. I really did believe that this episode was going to explain why Otis was uninstalling Rush Duels, but it seems like they're not going to be doing that, which is very bizarre. It really is bizarre that they're not going to be concluding or giving us an explanation, not concluding why Otis is doing this, because I still find it weird that out of nowhere, the guy that has been supporting Yuga in Rush Duels is now uninstalling it. I felt like this episode kind of needed to explain why he's wanting to get rid of Rush Duels, and it seems like we're not getting that unless all he does is he smiles this episode and the Rush Duels get uninstalled and then it gets reinstalled. I feel like that's a thing that I've been more and more kind of leaning towards, that he's uninstalling Rush Duels to reinstall Rush Duels and like adding the extra deck mechanic. I really do believe that, because we do know of the announcement. I never did a video on this because honestly I didn't really have enough time to really do it, but we do know that there's going to be an extra deck mechanic coming to Rush Duels, so I felt like that would just be an easy way to incorporate it, and that would explain why they didn't have access to the extra deck since the beginning. But I don't know, like it's very weird that we're not having any explanation and even like telling us that's what's happening in this, because I feel like this has to conclude. There is no way they're doing it into the next arc. I would be shocked about that, because think about the last 3 arcs. They've always concluded what that story was trying to do. And then yes, you had a glimpse of what the villain was going to look like the next arc, but that's different, because assumingly with Otis and the way he acted, seems like a villain, even though I put quotation marks around it, because I really don't think he's a villain, because I've been more towards that idea that he's just really doing this to help benefit Rush Duels, not trying to get rid of Rush Duels, because I just don't see the motivation there. Though, although one of you guys in the comments actually made 2 very interesting points, one of them being like there are multiple Otises, which I really did like that. I think that was a really cool idea, and maybe they go some route there, but I don't know. If I had to choose one, I feel like he's just not evil, especially since we had been shoehorned so many times. Thinking the ramen guy, where we thought he was going to be some part with the villains, and because of him maniacally laughing in that preview shot. But guess what? He was just laughing on his phone. So I don't know. Like, they just love to shoehorn us to think that this is a villain when all reality it isn't. But that's just my general thoughts on that. I want to know you guys' thoughts on that further down the line. And were you guys surprised that we didn't see Otis in the cast list and that he's not speaking in this episode? And do you think it's going to go into the next episode? But obviously, that will be a very interesting discussion to talk about for this upcoming episode. But we have to talk about the main meat of this. Yuga and Luke, even though after finding this out, they decide, you know what? We're not going to let this Rush Duel end. We are going to finish this Rush Duel. So this duel will continue onwards. And I'm very happy about that. I honestly thought there was going to be a chance that this was going to be a no conclusion. They were not going to end it or finish this duel, which I'm going to be completely honest. If they did that, I would have been disappointed, because they have built this up for so long now, ever since we found out that Yuga was going to be participating in the tournament, that I felt like this needed to have a conclusive conclusion. And I know that sounded weird, but and think about this too, the 777 thing on whoever wins this duel. I mean, come on, it makes sense. But generally speaking, in terms of the duel, has my thoughts changed since I have had another week to kind of think of this duel? There actually has been something that I didn't mention in the last episode that I feel like I should bring up, because honestly, I forgot about this, to be completely honest. If Yuga loses this duel, this will be his 5th loss in the first 52 episodes of the show. I'm not kidding. This is his 5th loss. He's lost to Luke in episode 2. He lost to Nail in episode, I think it was 24, I think it was. No, 23. Episode 23 is when he lost. Then Asana, and then it was like in episode, I think it was episode 33. I'm trying to remember the episodes. Then Roman in episode 40, so this would be his 5th loss in the show, and I think that's another thing that I've seen going around, that a lot of people had said, like, oh, if Yuga loses this duel, this is just killing his character, because he has now lost 5 duels in the first 52 episodes, which, let me just start off by saying this. I don't think it kills his character at all if he loses 5 duels in the first 52 episodes. Now, I will say, for me personally, his stock will go down a little bit because I do think, even though wins and losses aren't everything, I still think it's weird that for our main protagonist, I kind of expected a little bit more from him in terms of putting up numbers, but it's not more of the losses itself, it's the more frequently he's been losing. In the last half of this show, that's where most of his losses have come from. Like, I think of the first 20 episodes of the show, which I guess if you're doing accurate half, it would be the first 26. He lost 2 duels, which was against Neil and Luke. But now, compared to this, he's lost 3 duels, which would get the 5. But another thing that I've just noticed is that he can't get a streak to save his life. Like, for the last half of the show, more than half of this show, he has not gotten a 3-win streak. Like, this is what this duel would do to him, is give him a 3-win streak that he hasn't had in a very long time. But if he doesn't, he is not going to be really in a high position because he just lost another duel again, which I want to reiterate this again. Sorry, I couldn't really speak for a second. I don't think this kills his character. I really do not believe it will kill his character at all. But it would be very interesting for him to get another loss at this scenario and giving Luke another win against Luke, which he already did in the show. But I still also fight with that as well, because would they just make Luke lose and basically give him a swift kick in the butt? Because think about it. Again, his teammates had put up so much work for Luke to just lose in the finals. Like, I feel like that's just it's not a dishonest to their team, or dishonor to their team, excuse me. I can't now speak today. But I don't know, would they do that? I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a benefit with them losing and just losing in general, because I know a lot of people have had problems with him being undefeated, which I will say this, if say he wins this duel, he is losing in the next season. They are not going to keep this kid undefeated. I can almost guarantee that, because there is no way they're going to keep this kid undefeated for the entire show. In fact, I do believe that if they do have a third rematch against each other, Yugioh is 100% winning that duel if Yugioh ends up losing this duel. And I also still fight that Luke has been the one that has been more involved in wanting to become the rush duel, or the king of duels, I should say. And him winning this, I feel like he's earned it more because he's wanted it more than Yugioh. Yugioh just wanted it more this arc. And I feel like giving it to him really just doesn't make any sense, because Luke has fought for this for so long, and Yugioh has just fought this for probably 3 weeks or something like that, forever long this tournament has lasted. I don't even think it lasts 3 weeks, to be completely honest. I feel like that's about the time since he first mentioned it back in episode 13. Well, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks is a little bit too generous, but getting back on topic, I have seen a lot more. In fact, I think I'm more and more on the 50-50 side, and 0 on a draw and 0 on a no result. I just don't want to see either of those two. Draw wouldn't make any sense, and no result doesn't need to happen. I feel like a no result just ruins the hype for this duel, because, they gave so much time and made this big build up to this duel, and for it to just not conclude, I don't know, it just doesn't really make any sense, especially since this is where we're at in the show. This is assumingly the final duel, and I say that very loosely because I don't think this is the final rush duel. I should say rush duel, not just duel in general. But I don't know, this is very interesting, and I want to know your guys' thoughts on that too. Do you think Yugioh losing this duel would kill his character? Me personally, I don't. I really don't think this kills his character, but I would love to know your guys' thoughts on that. But guys, that is going to be it for this summary preview analysis. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all your guys' thoughts on this. This one was a little bit longer. I believe this is my longest summary and preview analysis. I mean, hey, save the longest one for the last one for Season 1, the last summary preview analysis for Season 1 of Yugioh Sevens. I mean, this one just needed a lot of discussion to this, but let me know all your guys' thoughts on this, about the whole Otis situation and him not talking in this episode. Do you think it is going to get resolved, this arc, or do you not think it's going to get resolved? And then your thoughts on Yuga in particularly losing this duel. Do you think it hurts his character, or do you think he will still be fine? Again, I do think he'll be fine if he does lose this. I understand the problem that he's been losing so frequently, but I don't think it kills his character whatsoever. I really do not believe that, but that's just my opinion, and I want to know your guys' thoughts on that whole situation. And just, who do you think is going to win this tournament? Who is going to win this final rush duel? And I say that with quotation marks. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on the Season 1 finale of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.